Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm Kerry. Today I'll be showing you how to crochet this swan. When it's crocheted in 8 ply, the size is 13 centimeters by 11.5 centimeters or 5 inches by 4.5 inches. The small swan crocheted in 4 ply crochet cotton is 9 centimeters by 7.5 centimeters or 3.5 inches by 3 inches. I'll be using 8 ply wool, which is light worsted in the US and double knit in the UK. I've got white for my main colour and orange and black for the beak. I've got a 2.5mm crochet hook. I've got black and white sewing thread and a sewing needle to stitch it together. I've got a darning needle to weave in my ends. I've got scissors and I've got a black bead for the eye, but you could embroider it on if you'd prefer. Now I'll start on the body, which is this bit right at the back behind the wing and the head and neck. I start with a magic loop, so I put my hook on my yarn and bring the short end over the hook and then take my long end over the short end to make a circle. Put my yarn around the hook and take the hook and yarn through the circle, and there's my magic loop. And then I work one chain. Into my circle I work 3 half double crochet. A half double crochet is called a half treble in the UK. For a half double crochet I put my yarn around the hook, hook in through the circle from the front and bring back a loop. Yarn around the hook and take hook and yarn through all the loops. So yarn around the hook, hook in to the circle through the front and bring back a loop. Yarn around the hook and take hook and yarn through all the loops, and I need one more. So I've got my 3 half double crochet. Next I work 3 treble into my circle. A treble is called a double treble in the UK. For a treble we put our yarn around the hook twice, put our hook in through the circle and bring back a loop, yarn around the hook, take it through, 2 loops, yarn around the hook, take it through, the next 2 loops and yarn around the hook and take it through the last 2 loops. And that's a treble. We need 2 more. Now we work 6 half double crochet into our circle, then we work 3 more treble, and then 3 half double crochet. And then we pull our circle tight, so we take hold of the tail and just ease the circle in. For this circle it doesn't matter if it's not really tight because it will be hidden behind the wing. And then we slip stitch in the top of the first stitch. So this stitch here, just above the first chain. For a slip stitch we put our hook into the stitch and bring a loop through the stitch and through the loop on our hook. And that's row 1 done. For row 2 we start with 1 chain and work 1 half double crochet in the same stitch as the chain, a half double crochet into the next stitch, and 2 half double crochet into the following stitch. Now we work 2 treble into each of the next 3 stitches. So 2 treble into each of the next 3 stitches. Into the next stitch we work 2 half double crochet, and then 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. Two half double crochet into the following stitch, and then 2 treble into each of the next 3 stitches. Two half double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 half double crochet into each remaining stitch. And slip stitch into the top of the first stitch. For row 3 we start with 2 chain and we work 1 double crochet into the same stitch as the chain. A double crochet is called a treble in the UK. For a double crochet we put our yarn around the hook, hook into the stitch and bring up a loop. Yarn around the hook, take it through 2 loops, yarn around the hook and take it through the next 2 loops. And then we need 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. And then we work 2 double crochet into each of the following 5 stitches. So 2 double crochet into each of the following 5 stitches. Now we work 1 double crochet into each of the next 8 stitches. Now we work 2 double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. And then 1 double crochet into each stitch to the end. And then slip stitch into the top of the first stitch. And that's the first 3 rows done. Now for row 4, I start with 2 chain and work 1 double crochet in the same stitch as the chain, then work 1 double crochet into each of the following 2 stitches, and 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Next we work 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 2 double crochet into the following stitch 6 times. That was 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 2 double crochet into the following stitch 6 times. To make it easier, I count to 18. I work 18 double crochet and every third one is worked into the same stitch as the last. So I'll start my 1 double crochet into the next and 2 into the following stitch 6 times. Now I've worked that 6 times. Next I work 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches and 2 double crochet into the following stitch 2 times. So 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches and 2 double crochet into the following stitch 2 times. Now we work 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 2 double crochet into the following stitch 6 times. So we're working around this corner the same as the bottom corner. So 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 2 into the following stitch 6 times. And then we work 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, 2 double crochet into the following stitch, and 1 double crochet into any remaining stitches, and slip stitch into the top of the first stitch. For row 5 we start with 1 chain and then we work 1 single crochet into each of the next 8 stitches. A single crochet is called a double crochet in the UK. For a single crochet we put our hook into the next stitch and bring up a loop, yarn around the hook and take our hook and yarn through both loops. So hook into the next stitch, bring up a loop, yarn around the hook and take our hook and yarn through both our loops. I've worked 2, I need 6 more. Into our next stitch we work 2 half double crochet. Into the following stitch we work 2 double crochet, and then we work 2 treble into the next stitch. For the treble we put our yarn around our hook twice. Next we work 1 double treble into each of the following 3 stitches. A double treble is called a triple treble in the UK. For a double treble, we put our yarn around the hook 3 times, hook into the stitch and bring through a loop, yarn around the hook, take it through 2 loops, yarn around the hook, take it through 2 more loops, yarn around the hook, take it through 2 more, and then yarn around the hook and through the last 2. So yarn around the hook 3 times to start with. We need 2 more double treble. Into the next stitch we work 2 treble, and then we work 2 double crochet into the following stitch, and then 2 half double crochet into the next stitch. And then we work 1 single crochet into each stitch to the end of the row. At the end of the row we slip stitch into the top of the first stitch and fasten off. And that's the body done. For the wing, this part here, we start with a magic loop and work 3 chain and 1 double crochet into our circle. We pull the circle tight. For row 2 we start with 3 chain and we turn our work over and we work 2 double crochet into the stitch there, and 1 double crochet into the top of the chain, just in there, in out the top of the 3 chain. For row 3 we start with 3 chain and turn our work. We work 1 double crochet into each stitch. We had 3 stitches. And 2 double crochet into the top of the chain. For row 4 we start with 3 chain. We turn our work and work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, one double crochet into each stitch, and 1 double crochet into the top of the chain. For row 5 we start with 3 chain and work 1 double crochet into each stitch, and 2 double crochet into the top of the chain. For row 6 we start with 3 chain and turn, and we work 1 double crochet into each stitch to the end. Now we've finished all our increasing, we're now going to start the decreasing for heading down towards the bottom. For row 7 we start with 3 chain. We're going to work a join double crochet over the first 2 stitches. For a join double crochet we put our yarn round the hook, hook into the first stitch and bring up a loop, yarn around the hook and take our hook and yarn through 2 loops. Then we put our yarn around the hook, our hook into the next stitch and bring through a loop, yarn around the hook and take it through the first 2 loops, yarn around the hook. We have 3 loops left and we take our hook and yarn through the remaining 3 loops. And we have a join stitch, that's a join double crochet. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet into each stitch to the last 2 stitches. Now I've got my 2 stitches left and I'm going to work a join double crochet over the last 2 stitches. So yarn around the hook, hook into the first stitch and bring through a loop. Yarn around the hook and take it through 2 loops. Yarn around the hook, hook into the next stitch and bring up a loop. Yarn around the hook, take it through 2 stitches, through loops, and yarn around the hook and take it through the remaining loops. Now for rows 8 to 11 will work the same. We start with 3 chain and turn, and we work a join double crochet over the first 2 stitches, and 1 double crochet into each stitch to the end. Now that was row 8. Row 9 we start with 3 chain and turn. We work a join double crochet over the first 2 stitches, and 1 double crochet into each stitch to the end. And rows 10 and 11 will work the same. 3 chain and turn, a join double crochet over the first 2 stitches, and 1 double crochet in each stitch to the end. And row 11, 3 chain and turn, a join double crochet over the first 2 stitches, and 1 double crochet in each stitch to the end. For row 12 we start with 3 chain and turn, and work a double crochet cluster over all the stitches. A double crochet cluster is called a treble cluster in the UK. For a double crochet cluster we put our yarn around the hook, our hook into the first stitch and bring through a loop, yarn around the hook and take our hook and yarn through 2 loops, and then our yarn around the hook, hook into the next stitch and bring through a loop, yarn around the hook and take our hook and yarn through the next 2 loops. We've got 3 loops left, yarn around the hook, hook into the next stitch and bring through a loop, yarn around the hook, take our hook and yarn through 2 loops. We've got 4 loops left, yarn around the hook and take our hook and yarn through the remaining loops. And there's the wing. Now I'm going to turn it over and do a neatening row. For the neatening row I start with 1 chain, and I'm going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch up to the tip of my wing. So just find a suitable place to put your hook into and work your single crochet, not too far from the edge. It just gives it a better finish if you work a single crochet or a slip stitch around the outside. So I'll continue working my single crochet into each stitch up to the corner, and I'll meet you up at the corner. Now, to make a better point on the end of my wing, I slip stitch into the end of the wing, the point. I work 2 chain and then slip stitch into that same stitch. And then I continue working a single crochet into each stitch around the rest of the wing. I'm just crocheting in the tail, so I hold it against my work and crochet over the top of it. So I'll continue down to the end of the wing and I'll meet you there. At the end of the row, slip stitch in the top of the first stitch and fasten off. And there's the wing done. For the head and neck, we're going to start at the head. We make a magic loop and we start with 2 chain and work 10 double crochet into our circle. We pull the circle tight and slip stitch in the top of the first stitch. And that's the head part done. We'll start on the neck now. We start with 3 chain and work 1 double crochet in the same stitch as the chain, and 1 double crochet into the next stitch. For row 3, we start with 3 chain and turn our work and work 1 double crochet into the first stitch, and then we're going to work a join double crochet over the same stitch as our first double crochet, so in that first stitch there and the last stitch. So we've got 2 stitches. For row 4, we start with 3 chain and we're going to work a join double crochet over both our stitches. For row 5, we start with 3 chain and turn, and we work 2 double crochet into our stitch. For row 6, we start with 3 chain and turn, and we work 1 double crochet into each of our 2 stitches. And for row 7 we start with 3 chain and work a double crochet into each of our 2 stitches. For row 8 we start with 3 chain, we work a join double crochet over both stitches, and then 1 double crochet in the last stitch, the same stitch as the last part of our join double crochet, so just in there. For row 9 we start with 3 chain and work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, and 1 double crochet in the next stitch. For row 10 we start with 3 chain and turn, we work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, one double crochet into the next stitch, and 2 double crochet in the last stitch. For row 11 we start with 3 chain and turn, we work 1 double crochet into each stitch to the last stitch and work 2 double crochet into the last stitch. I'm working my 2 double crochet into the last stitch. For row 12 we start with 3 chain and turn, and we work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, and 1 double crochet into each stitch to the end. For row 13 we start with 3 chain and turn, we work 1 double crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and work 3 double crochet into the last stitch. For row 14 we start with 3 chain and turn, we work 3 double crochet into the first stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, one treble into each of the following 3 stitches. For a treble we put our yarn around our hook twice at the beginning. So a treble into each of the following 3 stitches. One double crochet into the next stitch, and we're going to work a joined half double crochet over the last 2 stitches. For a joined half double crochet we put our yarn around the hook, hook into the stitch and bring through a loop, yarn around the hook, hook into the last stitch and bring through a loop, yarn around the hook and take it through all the loops. And that's the head and neck done, except for a neatening row. Now we're not going to work single crochet around the neck, it'll make it thicker, and I'd rather the swan's neck wasn't too thick. So I'm going to work a slip stitch into each stitch up to this row here where it's fairly narrow, and then I'm going to do some joined slip stitches just to bring it in a bit. So for a slip stitch we put our hook into the stitch and bring through a loop and take it straight through the loop on the hook. So hook into the loop, bring into the stitch, bring through a loop and take the hook and loop through the loop on the hook. So we'll work slip stitches up until our neck gets fairly narrow. Now the neck is getting quite narrow now. I'm going to do 2 or 3 joined slip stitches. For a joined slip stitch I bring a loop through and then I've got a loop on my hook. Then I go into the next stitch and bring a loop through and then just take it through the 2 loops on my hook. And that will just make the neck bend in a little bit. And I'll do another one. I'll be working 3 joined slip stitches. And the neck's just going to bend a little bit. And now I continue around working a slip stitch into each stitch, up around the head and then down, but I'll fasten off before I get to this end bit, so just in the corner there. So I'll work around the head and I'll be back when I get close to the corner. Now when I get close to the end, I'll just slip stitch probably into the second last chain and fasten off. And there's the head and neck done. Now for the beak with my orange, I start with 9 chain. I work a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, two double crochet into the next stitch, one half double crochet into each of the following 2 stitches, one single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and a slip stitch into each of the last 2 stitches. And that's one side of the beak done. Now we're going to work down the back of the beak into the back loops of the chain. We miss the first one and work a slip stitch in the second one, and then into the following 2 stitches we work one single crochet, and then work one half double crochet into each of the next 2, and two double crochet into the back of the next chain, and we work a single crochet into the last stitch and fasten off. And that's the beak done. Now we're going to join our black into the top of the second double crochet, so at this stitch here, that we work one single crochet into the next stitch. That's the top of the single crochet, your last single crochet of the beak, and then into this middle stitch here we're going to work a half double crochet, a double crochet and a half double crochet. So a half double crochet, a double crochet, and a half double crochet, and then work a single crochet into the next stitch, and then slip stitch into the top of the following stitch, and fasten off. And that's the beak done. I'll just weave in my ends and I'll be back and we'll put it together. Now here's all my pieces. The first things I'll do is attach the wing just in like that. It just goes slightly over the top with this curvy part nearly up against the edge, and just make sure the bottom doesn't go further than the bottom. I'll attach a black bead in the center of the circle for the eye, and I'll also put a little black spot on the beak, just that little spot there, and I'll be back. Now next I attach the beak to the head. The pointy bit at the end of the beak goes up against the eye, and the black bits go to the edge of the head. So just in like that. The last thing I do is attach the neck part to the body. It just goes even with the edge, and the body slopes back and the head sticks over the edge and the neck just bends in a bit. So I'll stitch that on and I'll be back to show you the finished swan. And there's the finished swan. If you like my video, please like, subscribe and share. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest and Twitter. The details are in the description below, along with the details of my website and the details of my Facebook group. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.